Dakota Vaughn announced his run for California governor on October 29th, 2020. He is running for the California gubernatorial spot, governor spot, excuse me, in the 2022 election. Dakota Vaughn is running as a Republican candidate against possible incumbent or Democrat incumbent Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom has not formally announced his reelection. However, you already have candidates like Dakota Vaughn entering into this race. Thank you so much for coming onto the program.
Thank you so much for having me today, Cameron.
Before we get into your policy platform, what drove your decision to run for governor?
For me, I think it's more, I'm running for the people, failed leadership. I think we've had a lot of candidates who have promised a lot of things. They have failed to follow through with it. And I think the people are just tired of it. I think the people deserve better. I think they're ready to get better.
So, what made you decide to run as a Republican?
To me, Republican is just more of the views that I hold lean more toward Republican. I don't consider myself a Democrat. I'm more for the Republican Party. I know in California, that word, it scares a lot of people away, but I think it's time that California is ready to pursue with a Republican.
And how would you describe your values?
My values would be honesty, good manners. My values for running would be just to get in office and actually do what you're going to say do. To me, it's not about just holding the title of office. It's not about another politician in a cheap suit trying to make promises to get in and nothing follows through. I think not only California, but I think everywhere is just tired of people promising, just tired of that stance. We need change, and we need real change.
What makes you qualified to be the individual driving real change?
The individual driving change for me would be the issues that matter. You have other candidates that talk about just issues that they are important, but the people, they're not concerned about that. The people are concerned about homelessness. The people are concerned about taxes, the cost of living, and the other candidates, I don't feel they have an ounce of what it's like to just live paycheck to paycheck, to live just as an everyday average American, an everyday average Californian. It's the cost of living in California has dramatically increased. The housing costs are through the roof. It's an issue that it's drawing major attention, and it's an issue that we have to resolve.
Let's go dive deep into your policy platform. First, with education, you say that you say that you have family members who are educators, and you say that you know how hard that, based on what you've seen from your family members, you know how hard it is uh, it is to live with their current salaries. What have your family member what experiences specifically have your family members shared with you?
Well, teachers in general, they are underpaid. They do so much for our children. They are the educators of our future, and they get underpaid. They're very well overworked. And a lot of teachers, most teachers I know, are actually going out of their own pockets to provide supplies for their classroom and the needs for children in general. And to me, like I said, I have a lot of family that are educators, teachers, and their wages are so low. It is so sad to see our teachers get put on the bottom, and they should be first in line, I think, to have a good wage. That way they can live the way they should live. They should be able not to live paycheck to paycheck, but to live comfortably. I have talked myself personally, not just family, but I have talked to many educators, and some are on the breaking point of just they're having to quit because they cannot provide anymore of what they love to do, because their wages have just been overlooked for so many years by politicians, and just they're put on the back burner. And it's just for the future of our kids, we have to change it.
What are the steps that you plan to take to improve teachers' wages?
Well, to improve the teacher wages, first we have to look at what we're spending money on that's useless. And I think that's what other candidates they fail to talk about. We spend so much money on stuff that we don't need, stuff that makes absolutely no sense whatsoever. If people actually knew what was getting taxed from their paychecks. And to me, that's why it's so important that I am running as a Republican candidate in California. And I know that's a scary title to have because I am in a Democratic liberal state. But the Democrats they've done nothing. You voted in so many Democrats and they've yet to do anything. If you keep voting in the same party, it's just putting a different face in the same suit. You're going to get the same results. So we have to fix our taxes, where they're going, and quit spending useless money on useless stuff.
What are some examples of useless stuff?
To me, the useless stuff, and it might not be a popular decision, but the smog, California smog, I think we have to abolish it, get rid of it completely. We have plenty of people who have nice cars, dependable cars, but they can't use them, all because of a aftermarket that's on them, or just because they don't pass a quality test. And to me, it's just useless. You look at all these other states, and by the way, people are fleeing. I think that's important too for people to realize. People are fleeing California, not by the hundreds, but by the thousands. One, because it's too high to live here. All the laws that we have are completely ridiculous. One, and including smog itself, as I mentioned, you have good vehicles out here, but you can't use them. So that's another way that we have to get rid of that. Smog, it has to go, along with a lot of other stuff.
So you would focus specifically on the smog issue, and that would be your first priority day one to that would be your first priority?
Well, day one, I think, big issue for me is judicial reform. And
Okay, let's get into your judicial reform platform. You say that it's time we start getting non-violent inmates out from behind bars and back into society. You say this on your website. How will there be accountability if non-violent inmates are being inserted back into society?
well, we look at it, and you have so many inmates that are in jail in our prison system for, I mean, outdated drug offenses. You go to jail, you go to prison for marijuana, things that you shouldn't be in jail, in my opinion, for the first place. But these people, they're not violent offenders, they're not murderers, they're not sex offenders, they're not rapists. They have a drug problem. So you have to get your drug offenders out of jail, out of prisons, and get them the help that they need. They need rehabilitation to get them back into society. Quit shunning them just because of a problem. And a lot of them don't even have a problem. A lot of them, it's just they want to try something, and a cop comes up, and that's it. They're gone. They're in the system. And a lot of these judges, they just send them away up the road. They're gone. So we have to have less jail time, no jail time for, drug offense. We have to have rehabilitation, because if you put these people in jail, in prison, you're not helping them. They're not getting no help that they need. They have to get rehabilitated.
Will this fundamentally change California's judicial system?
If we look at it the right way, I think it will. We have to decriminalize drug offenses, and I think that's a big priority for California. There's so many people in this state, and our jails and our prisons are overflooded with drug offenses in general. So I think if you can get these people out, get them rehabilitated, I think they're going to be a major part of our society, because all they're doing is just rotting away within the system for meaningless crimes.
You say on your policy platform, we will decriminalize drug addiction and open the door to rehabilitation centers. Will there need to be an increase in taxation to create more rehabilitation centers?
No, there won't. There will be no tax increase. We want to lower the tax, as a matter of fact. With the tax increase, that's not an issue. We're not going to increase taxes. We're going to try to lower the taxes. I know California right now is one of the biggest states for high taxes, which is, we have to lower that. Another issue that falls on is the homelessness. I think we can also, it cost 10,000, 13,000, I can't remember the exact number, more in taxpayer money to let a homeless person remain homeless than it would be to get the homeless help. That's another issue. You have homeless who the taxpayers are paying for them because of jail sentences and ER visits, and we have a very good mess on our hands that we have to clean up.
In terms of homelessness, you mentioned homelessness and you discussed this in your platform. Um, what is your homelessness platform?
Our homeless platform is we have to have more shelters. We have to have more necessities for the homeless. We have to have more shelters open. We have to have more convert old buildings that we can into helping the homeless. As I mentioned, for one homeless person in general, it costs anywhere from $10,000 to $15,000 more in taxpayer money for them to remain homeless than it would be to get them help, to get them in a shelter, in a building, necessities that we can use to get them off of our streets. If they go to jail, the taxpayers are paying for that. If they go to the hospital, the taxpayers are paying for that. It's a major issue. You talk to the local workers, factory workers, laborers, construction workers, and the majority of them, they would say, and they would support getting the homeless more help into shelters. They would be more happy in their tax dollars going toward helping the homeless than it would be for them to remain homeless, because they know how much it costs for them to remain homeless. We're paying for that.
Is it possible to have fiscal responsibility while solving the homelessness crisis?
I think it would be. I think that's a good issue. I think that's a good way to put it. In a way, I don't think it is our responsibility in general, but as an American people and just as a good person, you don't want to see people on the street. You don't want to see people, and some of these people have kids that are on the street. Some of these people are not just on the street. Some of these people are actually in hotels when they can get hotels. Some of these people, they do what they can. And I think it just comes from, you have to be a good person. You have to help your neighbor. You have to help your human being in general. You have to get these people off the streets, get more resources for them.
In terms of the homelessness crisis, there are certain, counties that experience more homelessness than others. For example, in Sacramento County, this was reported by Capital Public Radio on January 27th. They said in their report, they found that as of 2019, Sacramento County had nearly 5,600 unhoused residents, according to the most recent count conducted that year. That total was up 19% from 2 years before. That's from Capital Public Radio. Will you hold certain counties accountable if homelessness increases during your time in office?
Yes, I would absolutely hold the counties available. And what people don't realize as well is we have an issue in California. I don't think too many people's aware of it, but a lot of these places, law enforcement, certain people will come up to the homeless people and actually put them on a bus and send them to a different county. It's almost as if we're just sending the homeless to just be with other homeless people, just to compact one county or one city. And it's like, what are you doing with the homeless? You can't just do that. So yes, I would absolutely hold counties responsible.
On your website, on your campaign website regarding the homelessness platform, you say that our local businesses are suffering as far as too many homeless people make their home in front of shopping centers. We will ensure security for our business people and at the same time, the safety and security of our homeless people. What relationship are you going to build with with the business community on this issue?
Well, coming from a business person myself, you have to have security, of course, for your own business. And you have a lot of homeless people that make their beds and make their foundation in front of these businesses. But at the same time, you also have police. I've witnessed it firsthand experience. You have police that come up and harass the homeless people. And at sometimes you even have police that get physical with homeless people. You can't have that. You absolutely cannot have that. These are human beings, and they have rights as well as any other person. So you have to have the security of your business, but at the same time you have to have security if you're a homeless person, that you're not going to get violated, you're not going to get harassed, you're not going to get abused physically from police. So you have to meet in the middle, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to support our businesses, that they will have a clean platform where there won't be homeless people in front of their businesses, but at the same time the homeless people are also going to get treated with respect where they won't get abused. And that starts with, as well, that starts with the foundation in getting more shelters, getting better resources, getting old buildings. You have to convert these old buildings. There's some buildings in California that they've been vacant for 25 years. We've just seen a business the other day, and it's been vacant for 22 years, I think they said, to be exact. And they're not doing anything with it. It's just going away. It's a main resource, and I think if you have somebody in office with a mentality, with a business mind on them, you can do a lot of good, and you can get rid of a lot of this homeless situation that we do have.
Let's transition to police reform. You say this on your website: for far too long, the police have been abusing their authority and power. In what ways in what ways have the police been abusing their authority and power?
Well, police for far too long, you put a badge on somebody, and in today's time, it's almost as if they think of themselves as they're invincible. They got a badge, they're invincible, they're above the law, when in reality, they're supposed to be the ones enforcing the law, but not abusing the law at the same sense. There was a story, and I'm sure a lot of people have heard it. The mayor of Compton, she actually had a big involvement with police and a big issue. You can read all about it, the Compton mayor. And it was just, she even told him that she was the mayor of Compton, and it was a huge issue. And you do have to have police, just, we call it defunding the police, redesigning the police. And I think that's the number one big issue in a lot of California people. Me, myself, I have went to the smaller cities. I have went to smaller communities, Compton in general, Montclair, Pomona, and I've spoken with a lot of residents and a lot of different people. And that is their number one thing that they always talk about is the police brutality, abuse of power. And you have to get body cameras on these people. I know the governor, Gavin Newsom, he's done away with body cameras, but you have to have body cameras on these officers. You have to enforce that. If I was to get pulled over, I would feel 100% more safe and secure if an officer had a body camera on than if he didn't. So you do have to have body cameras for police to make sure that they're not abusing their power. Most of them are. We already know that. And you have a lot of good police officers out there. Don't get me wrong. You really do. But majority of them are bad apples. So a lot of other candidates don't say this, but I guess I'm the first one. I like to think I'm the first one. We are going to have to redesign the police, the system completely. There is right now, there's a gang within the police department, within the system in LA County alone. They get tattoos to match, to show that they're in the gang. And that's completely just uncalled for, complete just childish, and it will be put to a stop. We have to remember that we need justice for all the people who have been harassed, bullied, and even murdered by the police. And I think a lot of people have forgotten that, but with me, it's not going to be forgotten anymore. The police will be held accountable, and the police will be having to wear the body cameras.
In terms of body cameras, and you're mentioning it right now, Pew Research did an article in 2020. It was done by Pew Charitable Trust, which is basically is an organization that's connected to Pew Research. And in in their article, they say body cameras may not be the easy answer everyone was looking for. And they mention Kansas. Kansas had a 2018 bill that would have made body cameras a requirement for most law enforcement officers, but it died in a Senate committee. And one of the state senators, who was a Republican, he said in an interview that this is what he said, quote, "We try to be understanding, especially with smaller counties." And he goes on to say, "You can't mandate something that's onerous to the point of breaking a budget." Are you concerned that having body cameras for police officers can turn into a budget issue?
No, not at all. The budget issue is, and like I said, I've been straightforward with this, and I will continue to be straightforward with the police problem that we have. I think it's time as well to start cutting the budget of the police in general. They are making way too much money for what they do. And you have the issue of, well, we're defending, we're putting our lives on the line. Well, you are. I agree, you are. But you also make that choice yourself to put your life on the line. So we're going to fix a big budget issue, and it starts with the police. And they will be getting, as I said, the body cameras. That is absolutely a must. We have to have the body cameras. We have to ensure security and safety for all the people in California. And the budget issue is, we should cut the budget of the police. A lot of people, they don't even want police in general. They want to completely defund and annihilate the police in general. But we got to have our law enforcement. We have to have police, but we have to have them in the right way. So the body cameras, you have it. You also have to have temperament and a mental test. I don't see how you don't have a mental test. In New York City, it takes a longer period of time than it does in California to become a law officer. In California, it takes 4 to 6 months. And you have people out here that are holding a gun. That's what people don't realize. They're holding a gun, and they probably don't have the temperament of a 13-year-old with an attitude problem. Some of these officers out here, just look at them. You have officers out here who I know would not pass a drug test, would not pass a temperament test. Some of these officers out here, you look at them and they're 260 pounds of solid muscle. And I know that it's not natural. You have some kind of substance in your body. So we have to have a substance abuse test. You have to. And you also have to have a mental test. To me, the police problem is one of the biggest problems, not just in California, but in America right now. And it seems like so many people's forgot. I've seen so many rallies of police brutality and where's the justice. So much has gone on with just people who've been abused, been killed because of police. And it's not just because of police, but you have to add that extra part in there: police brutality, abuse of power, and they have to be held accountable in the same sense of the case in Minnesota, the police brutality. We have to hold people accountable and quit giving them slap on the wrist. You have to quit giving them, okay, well, we're going to give you a vacation with pay. If you do something wrong, you don't get a vacation with pay, you get terminated. No more officers are going to get a little slap on the wrist and, oh, we'll go home and we're going to pay you to sit at home. That's not going to work. If you have complaints, you get fired. You're done. Turn in your badge.
Let's transition now to your platform on protecting and defending children. You say, We need harsher penalties and more jail time for child sex offenders. What would harsher penalties look like?
Well, depending on the circumstance, I think if you have a person out here who's already got a sex offender charge and they get another complaint and they go back in front of a judge, I don't think they should be getting probation for an extended period of time. I don't think they should get, okay, well, we're going to send you to the pen for 2 or 4 years. If you touch a child, if you do inappropriate acts with children, then you should get mandatory the most amount of time that you could possibly give somebody. Our children are, as I've stated, they're the future of our state, they're the future of our country. And for a grown man or woman in any circumstance to harass a child, to inappropriately touch a child, they should quit getting the slap on the wrist. And, you know, it's a very good website. If you look at it, you can actually see sex offenders in your area. You can see sex offenders that live beside you, that work in your local communities. And some of the acts that they've done are just horrible. I don't see how they're even walking the streets. I know I wouldn't want my child anywhere around one of these offenders. So if you have a man who inappropriately touches a child, who does inexplicable acts with a child, they should not be getting 12 months or 24 months in prison. They should be getting 10, 15, 20 years in prison. It just blows my mind how the California judges and the California law office can let this go on. Some officers, they don't even look at it. They turn a blind eye to it, and it has to stop. I just could not believe that the website that I look at some of these offenders and some of their charges, and they're still with us today, but yet we have somebody who smoked weed or who snorted cocaine, and they're in jail and in prison for longer terms than somebody touching a child. It's just uncalled for. It blows my mind. So we have to, yes, we have to defend our children. They cannot defend themselves. We have to be the voice of the voiceless. We have to put a stop to the pedophiles. That's the only way you can name them. They're pedophiles. You have to stop giving them slap on the wrist. You have to stop. In some instances, they know if they get caught again, there's not going to be a major sentence. There's not going to be any harsher penalties. So we have to stop that, and we have to defend our children. And yes, we need harsher penalties.
Moving on to something that you call on your website the Fair Religion Act. This is something that you are proposing. What is the Fair Religion Act?
The Fair Religious Act is anybody, any person, any woman, they're entitled to their own religious views, whether you're a Muslim, a Christian, Buddhist, anything, you are entitled to your own views. And a lot of people say, well, that's already happened. We already had that. But a lot of instances, you don't. I met a woman and she was talking about getting discriminated because of her religious views. And I didn't even think this was a thing today in 2021, how you're going to get discriminated against your religious views. So we have to put a stop to that as well. If you're a Christian, if you're a Muslim, if you're a Buddhist, if you're any other religion, you're not going to get discriminated on. If you want to rent a house, if you want a job, if you anything, a lot of people, and you're not supposed to get discriminated on if you want to rent a home, if you want a job. you're not supposed to get discriminated on. But a lot of people, they even say, well, I'm scared to even put my religious preference down because I know that I'm going to get shunned for it. I know that I'm going to get outcasted for it. So nobody should feel that way. Nobody should feel as if they shouldn't be able to be what they want to be, put their religious views down. That's, that's, you're entitled to that. You're entitled to your own views and your own religious preference.
How will you protect religious minorities from hate crimes?
That's another big issue is the hate crimes on religious views right now. It's in a lot of instances it's out there in the open, but a lot of instances it's hidden. So again, we just have to go in effect, and you have to protect the religious views. There's no other way around it. Whether you're a Muslim, whether you're a Christian, you have so many cases of people going and vandalizing the Muslim mosque. You have so many instances where people are going and destroying churches, and that has to stop. You have to have some kind of patrol. It goes back to the police. As I say, policemen, they're supposed to patrol our streets to make sure everyone is safe, but at the same time, they're supposed to patrol the communities and make sure that our buildings are safe as well. So what is the police doing with their time? If they was doing their jobs, then they would be patrolling and making sure our buildings ain't getting burned down. They're not getting vandalized. They're not getting just completely torn up with spray paint and graffiti and just completely destroyed. I know I've seen so many policemen who they're supposed to be patrolling. They're supposed to be in their vehicles that the taxpayers pay for. We pay for their new vehicles. That's going to be another issue. They're not going to be getting no more new vehicles. They are supposed to be patrolling in their new vehicles. They're not patrolling. I've seen so many cases where we go to 7-Eleven and you have 4, 5, 6, 7 cops behind the 7-Eleven talking, laughing, cutting up. But yet we're supposed to be paying the police to do a job, and they're not doing it. They're sitting behind there laughing and talking. And I know they're not all on break. They can't be.
Last policy topic before we get into, the campaign talk. Construction and union worker rights. You talk about yourself as a former construction worker and what you've learned about. Or you mentioned that you are a former construction worker. What did you learn about construction work that can help improve the lives of construction workers?
Well, I started construction at a very young age, 17, 18 years old. I started construction from the bottom. I was a laborer. I worked my way up to equipment operator, and it is a hard job. These people are out there in the hot sun, whether they're doing dirt work, whether they're doing asphalt work, and a lot of these people are not secure with their jobs. We have to have unions is a big part. We have to have unions. We have to protect our unions. That way these people are ensured that they're going to have a pay, that they're going to have a protected job, that they just can't come in and say, well, we're going to get rid of you. We're going to cut your pay. You're not entitled to anything, which, it's completely wrong. Everyone is entitled to have a union. Everyone is entitled to be treated fairly, to be treated with the respect that they deserve. Coming from a construction person myself, it's It's a hard job. It's not for most people. Most people are not going to get out there in 90-degree, 100-degree weather for 7, 8, 9, sometimes 10 hours a day and do the type of work that they do. So they have to be protected with the union. They have to be ensured that they're going to get fair wages, that the upper hand, that the contractors, they're not just going to pocket the money all for themselves, that they're going to leave the equipment operators, they're going to leave the laborers on the bottom just to get just change, when I know what these people are making. I know what they're bringing in. And you have to have the fair wage. You have to have the fair union. You have to ensure that these people are not just working just for below average pay and sometimes it's even against the law pay. You have people working that are not even working for minimum wage just because they think that they can get one up on you. And some people don't even know that they can be protected, that there is laws that they can be protected. Some people don't even understand or know that. So we have to let that be known.
Last topic, you announced your candidacy in 2020. We're here at the beginning of February of 2021. What does the path look like for you to win this seat?
Well, I think it's a long road. It is, but I think at the same time, we have so many people that we talk to. We have still so many people that we're going to talk to, and we want their views. We want their knowledge of, hey, what do you want? It's not about us. It's not about me. It's not about any of the other candidates. And I've read their policies. I've read their views. A lot of it don't make sense. A lot of it is just, as I've stated, it might not be the popular thing to say, but they're just politicians in cheap suits to try to get the title of governor. You have to listen to the people. You have to know what the people are wanting, and that's the main thing to me. I know what people have told me. I know that the police is a big issue in California. I'm from Tennessee myself. I'm from the South, and people are fleeing California by the thousands, not by the hundreds, but people are fleeing this state by the thousands, and they're not going to other Democratic states. They're not going to other liberal states. Some people are, but most of them are going to Republican run states. Texas, a lot of people are going to Texas. A lot of your major industries and technology companies are leaving California to go to Texas. So you have to listen to the people. Again, the police, I'm proud to say that I'm the only candidate up here who will come right out and say the police is a big issue. Yes, we are going to redesign and rebuild our police. We're going to have the body cameras. I will make that known to everyone. There's no way to sugarcoat it. There's no way to run around it. Straightforward. We are going to redesign the police. They're not going to like it, but we're not doing it because they want to like it or they don't like it. We're doing it for the safety of our people. We're doing it for the security of our people. Another issue is the judicial reform. Again, outdated drug offenses. People are doing so many years in prison for outdated drug offenses, for marijuana, for cocaine. So yes, they are drugs. I understand that. Cocaine, all of that, it's drugs. But you also have to rehabilitate these people. They're not going to learn anything in jail or in prison. So you have to rehabilitate these people. You got to get them back out in society. There's a lot of good men and women who are locked up right now away from their families behind bars for stupid offenses, for outdated drug offenses. Another issue is the little towns. It's easy to put on a suit. It's easy to go out here and change your name. It's easy to say, hey, I'll give you $5 to take a picture with me. That's, you know, that's so stupid. It's so immoral. But I like going to the smaller places. I don't go to Beverly Hills. I don't go to all the other fancy places that most people go to. I go to Compton. I go to Pomona, Montclair, San Bernardino, and I talk to these people. I see the roads coming from construction. I see the roads in Compton. They're a mess. Where's the money going to fix these roads? If you drive through Compton, by the time you get out of Compton, you're going to have to go to a mechanic just to get a front end alignment for your vehicle. We have to fix our roads. We have to fix these communities. We have to put money back into these forgotten cities. Plain and simple. You cannot forget about these cities just because of a past reputation, or just because of a reputation that, oh, well, they don't matter. They're who cares about them? That's why I go there. That's why I talk to everyone. I talk to anybody. And it starts with, we have to fix our roads. We have to fix our cities. We have to defund the police. Yes. We have to get our prisoners out of jail, out of prison, get them back home with their families, rehabilitate them. There's so much that we have to do that other politicians, they have failed to do it. They have let you down so many times. You keep voting for the same party, and I get it. A Republican is a scary word in California. I'm very well aware of that. But as I said, you have so many people leaving California. Most of them that I know are going to Arizona, going to Texas. You look at what Oregon's done with their drug program, and it's working out amazingly. They're so far ahead of California, it's working out great. So if the people of California are going to Texas or going to Arizona, that should tell all of us something. Hey, maybe it's time for something new. You voted so many others in before that they've done nothing for you. They failed you. Movie stars, other people that you voted in who have just been horrible. They've been a disaster. And I think the people are ready for something new. I think California's ready to get shook up a little bit in a sensible way. I think California is ready for change. And I think my campaign, I think my policies, I think we would bring a great change to California. Not only a different kind of change, but I think a better change as well.
I ask this question at the end of every interview for all the candidates I've interviewed so far in this race. Is there anything that you would like to add?
Just as I've stated, you can visit my website, www.dakotakvaughn.com. Look at all my policies, look at all my views, our plan that we have for the state of California. We have so much more coming up that we are going to start putting up. We have so much more work that we're going to do. And I think California is ready for a change. We don't have anything to lose. We voted so many times for Democrats, and we have nothing to lose. It's, they've done nothing for you in the past. So at this point, what do you have to lose? Try something new. And I think my policies, from the people I've spoke to, from all the residents of California, I think we know what most of them want. We know what most of them are asking for, and we can definitely bring change to California.
Thank you so much, Dakota, for joining the program. I really appreciate it. Everyone, thanks for tuning in and have a great night.
Thank you so much for having me.